First spreader we're going to look at is something that's very popular. You're going to see this in all the big box stores, and it's the Scott's Turf Builder, and it's the EdgeGuard Mini. This thing is great if you're looking to get started in lawn care. Maybe you're not too sure if you want to continue on. You don't want to spend too much money. At $50, it's a good entry level spreader. Now, a couple of things to note where the spreader is not ideal. If you want good even coverage, then this spreader might not be for you. So this spreader here has the impeller, and it does spin and spreads the product, and it does spread the product really well. But the issue that I have had with this, the impeller actually sits below the wheels, so you can see here. So a lot of the product does come up and over the wheels, but you do end up with a lot of product getting stuck in here. And because the wheels are plastic, they're not filled in, that you can actually get product stuck in the back of the wheel here. And then that ends up depositing, and you end up with lines like this across your lawn, which means you're just not getting good even coverage that you were expecting from your broadcast spreader. The wheels, they're plastic. You hit a bump with these, it knocks off course. You either lose product out of the hopper, or maybe you don't get as good even coverage because it starts tilting and you end up dropping more product on one side than the other. And I just don't like it. It gets caught up on bumps in the lawn. Now, if you've got a really smooth lawn, that won't be a problem for you. But for majority of DIYers, you're probably not going to have a perfectly smooth lawn. One thing that this spreader is really good with is the edge guard. So when you're doing around the edges of your lawn, protecting this side here so you don't get anything on the pavement, then this does work really well. It's something that this does have going for it, but then you end up with more product getting forced across to the side here and then getting caught in this wheel. For identifying what setting you need to have your Scott spreader on, it's really easy because Scott's has their settings across all bags of fertilizer, seed, or any other product you're going to be putting on your lawn, which is really handy. So you look at your bag, you want to put down level 4 setting because we've got Scott's Guard Edge Mini here. That's what the bag says. We turn to 4 and then we can start spreading. But where that is an issue with this particular spreader, the gate at the bottom here, you lift this up. Now that's how you control how much product is going to be deposited, and you need to calibrate this very often because every time you get to the end of the run, you have to close this gate and open it back up again. And this is the mechanism for dropping the product down. So this isn't calibrated correctly. That level 4 setting isn't level 4 anymore. It could be 7, and then you're dropping more product. And you need, now there's a little arm here that spins when you turn the wheel, and that's to flick product towards the gate to drop it. Mine actually fell off, but it did a really good job of getting all the product out of the bottom and towards here until it fell off. So I've got a little cable tie here. It doesn't do as good a job, but I'm not using this spreader as my main spreader anymore. This spreader does have a good height for moving, and I like the visibility you can get from it. I feel like I'm looking over it, so I can actually see how much is being spread out of the spreader, which I really like. Some larger spreaders you can't see because you can't see exactly where the fan is going when you're spreading the product. But if you're looking to only buy one spreader and never have to buy a spreader again, you don't want to get this Scott spreader, and that's why I'm throwing mine out. This next spreader is the Echo RB60, and this spreader is a little bit more expensive than that Scott's. It's $150, and this spreader is definitely worth that price increase over the Scott's. I will leave a link in the description below to all the spreaders that we're looking at today, so if you do want to get one, you can click that link and get one for yourself. The Echo RB60 has an impeller here, and this is turned by the wheels turning like this, and you'll see that the impeller actually sits above the wheels, which is handy compared to what we were looking at on the Scott's. It means that when the spreader is spreading, all the product is going above the wheels and not getting caught in the wheels and leaving you with those lines across your lawn where you get a really dark mark. That's where it dropped a bunch of fertilizer. The coverage that you get from this spreader is amazing. Around about 8 feet of wingspan or coverage, however you want to call that, from this spreader here, which is really good. Means you don't have to do as many passes compared to other spreaders. On more basic spreaders, you do get plastic wheels, but when you start looking at the more advanced spreaders or more expensive spreaders, you do get pneumatic tires. So this tire here really does glide across the lawn. So when you hit bumps, you don't end up with as much wobble, or the spreader not spreading as evenly as it should do. You don't get stuck on any of those divots if you've not got a flat lawn. So if you're looking at any spreader, make sure it has pneumatic tires. You're going to get a much better spreading experience and better coverage of your product on your lawn. You're spending a lot of money on those products, so make sure you're getting good coverage and don't let bad plastic tires affect that. Controlling how much product you drop with this spreader is really easy. It's got this little device here that you push down and then pull it along, and it's got a little chart here that tells you what the corresponding setting is. So if you've got a Scott's setting and it says 3.25, the Echo setting is a 3, so we can move that back to 3 and then we can start spreading. I really like this. It means it's not going to get knocked while you're spreading because there's nothing down in this area here, and it's not going to be inaccurate because of constantly moving it. Where the spreader is really good is the fact it's got 2 gates on the bottom here. So you can see this bottom gate here, and this is the gate that's adjusted by the lever that we just looked at beforehand. Then you pull the handle, that gate opens, and you can see beneath that the first gate is only open halfway. and that means that you're going to allow so much product through. But if I adjust the black knob on the back and make it larger, it opens up the gate further. And if I make it smaller, it closes the gate off. So this second gate is really just allowing product to leave the hopper. I really like this system because it's really accurate how much product is getting dropped, and it's not going to be out of calibration at all because there's nothing to calibrate. It's fairly straightforward to use, and you're not moving the component all the time. A negative on the spreader is this little arm here. It's not quite long enough, and I find a lot of product gets caught up on this side here. So you have to do that little bump method to get all the product over to this side so it actually falls out of the hopper. Now, basically every single spreader on the market you have to do that with, so you can't really knock this spreader, but it'd be nice to have a little bit better of a mechanism here for clearing this product out. We might modify this at a later date to make that a little bit better. But for now, the spreader is standard, and that is an issue that I do have with this spreader. The spreader has a really wide stance, so it's not going to fall over when you're just leaving it sitting here when you've got product in there. I like that. That Scott spreader will just fall over when it's empty. Something that I'm not a massive fan of is all the ridges on the edge guard here. So when you're going around the perimeter of your yard and you're dropping fertilizer on the edge, I find it's too much gets caught in here. If this were smooth, it'd be a much better spread. I haven't noticed that there's too much getting dropped on the edge of the yard and where it's got a green line like you see when it gets caught in the Scott's wheel. I just like to see this flat, stop product getting stuck in there. It's not a major issue. It's just something I'm not too fond of with this spreader. It is solid, a little bit heavier. As for the movement of it, I really like this at 6'1". It's a perfect height for me. A good spread. Don't find it's too tall. I don't find it's too short for me. Overall, really happy with this Echo RB60. This is my go-to spreader right now, even with the little issues that I've pointed out, but it does an excellent job of spreading the product. Really easy to use, really easy to move around, and it's a little bit more expensive than the Scott spreaders, but I don't think I would ever have to buy another spreader after buying this one here. But that Scott spreader, it's only going to last a few seasons. Now, this last spreader we're going to look at today is this Chapin spreader. If you're taller, this spreader is definitely for you. It's got a really high handle. If you're on the shorter side, it might be a little bit difficult to use this spreader. There's no adjustable handles here. This Chapin is a very similar setup to the Echo RB60, where the impeller is just over the wheels. So I mean, you're not getting the product caught in the wheels or in the little plastic bits like the Scots. I will say there's not as much clearance between the top of the wheel and the impeller, but I haven't noticed any issues where the fertilizer or whatever I'm spreading is getting caught on the wheel. The Echo has this one beat a little bit for the height difference, but no performance issues there. Has pneumatic tires. Now, these tires are much larger than the Echo RB60 tires. They glide across the lawn with no problem at all. You hit bumps, it definitely helps smooth out the ride so you don't end up with the impeller leaning one way and dropping too much product and not getting the correct spread that you want from your broadcast spreader. Like the Echo RB60, it has an edge guard, and the edge guard are these little yellow tabs right here. So if you want to stop product coming out on the left-hand side, you push this in, and on the inside, this side here is closed off, and that means that the spread is not going to be out to the left-hand side. So that's like your edge guard that we've seen before. And if you want a really narrow spread, you push this one in too. And then if you want to stop material being dropped on the right-hand side, you pull this one out. A little bit different compared to a little edge guard that flips down, but I really like this design and really happy with how well this has worked. The super on the inside is a little bit shorter than the bottom of the barrel, and I find that this doesn't quite reach to the edge, just like the Echo RB60. And I find a lot of product gets dropped here. This one does have a flatter bottom, and I find it doesn't need to be bumped as much to get the product across to the hopper side here. It would be good to have one that actually touches the bottom of the barrel, because this is about 3/4 of an inch off, and if one was a little bit longer, I think that would work really well to get the product to where it needs to be. The mechanism for controlling how much product is dropped, you have a numbering guide here, and Chapin do provide the conversion from Scott's and other brands to what they're setting is here. So you turn this little knob here, you put it to wherever you need it to be, lock it in place, and then when you start your run, you pull this back, and when you get to the end of the run, you push this forward. It's got mechanical linkage going down there. You need to calibrate that when you buy this and build it. I've got a video on that, so I'll leave that linked at the end of this video so you can find out how to build one of these. But you pull this back, really nice mechanism. It means you don't have to hold on to a handlebar or hold anything open. You can pull this and leave it be until you need to close it when you get to the end of the run you're on. When you pull this open, you can see the gate in the bottom here opens and closes, and that's going to allow the product to drop. You can see that I've pushed in the edge guard on this side here, so that means that no product is going to come out on the right hand side, and it's only going to come out on the left hand side and the center when spreading. The spreader has a really wide stance, and it's not going to fall over when you got product in it like the Scott's does when it's empty. So that's something you pay for when you get one of these better spreaders, is you get a really solid spreader. It's not flimsy, a better spread pattern and better features, so you can get better coverage on your lawn. Really like this Chapin with the circular bucket. Gives you really good visuals of what you're spreading. You can see how good the spread pattern is. Feels really nice to push around. It's not heavy, even though it is a heavy spreader, it does glide across the lawn really well, even with a lot of weight in it. There are 3 spreaders. There's one that I wouldn't buy, and then the Echo RB60 and the Chapin, they're 2 really good spreaders. If you don't have a bigger budget, the Echo RB60 is a great spreader. I'd really recommend that. Even if you do have a larger budget, that would be my go-to spreader right now. But if you have a larger budget and you want something that's a little bit more pro grade, I'd recommend this Chapin here. Just sign up to my newsletter. You'll get links to videos that when they go live and information on things that are going on around the house. If you do have any questions on the spreaders that we've looked at today, leave a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching. You should check out this video here next.